Welcome, Team Wilpers Holiday Run Challenge 2025 crew. What's up? Hopefully, everyone had a happy holiday. Yesterday was Thanksgiving here in the U.S. I enjoyed a bunch of turkey and sweet mashed potatoes and mashed potatoes. Those are my fave. But mostly, I got to spend a little time with family, which I always enjoy. I got like a little raspy throat here, and I had a little dental stuff, so if I'm talking a little funny, just roll with me here. Okay. So anyway, this is week 2. My name's Justin Harris. I'm one of the Team Wilpers coaches here. Make sure you follow us on here. You can hit subscribe. If you're on YouTube, you can join our Team Wilpers Facebook group or Team Wilpers Running Facebook group. Follow us on Team Wilpers on Instagram, and you can follow me, Jay Harris Coaching. All right. So I want to get into week 2. I want to talk a little bit about all access, but really I want to get going and talk about week 1. So week 1 is the current week you're in. It's not too late to start. If you're seeing this, you can jump in at any point in time, and you'll just get started from the beginning. It does time out at the end. We shut it off. But you can at least get started. And that's really what this challenge is about. All right. This challenge is about being short, sweet, effective, and making the holidays, the challenges that come with the holidays, a focus for you to get short and sweet things done. And so that you can build throughout the holiday season and into the new year and get going on your goals. So it's not always about building like a ton of volume and getting a ton of training in. That's a traditional pyramid where you get volume, then you get strength, and then you get power, and then you get speed, and then you do very specific stuff for the event that you're trying to do. Well, there's something called a reverse pyramid where you do the shorter, faster stuff. Then we get into strength work, then we get into power work, and then we get into more volume. Doesn't mean we do all the fast stuff and with high volumes, right? You just get little doses of it, but there are different models that you can go in. And we're going to talk about how to navigate stuff with all or nothing idea. And I'm just writing this in because I forgot to talk about it. So with that said, week 1, you were supposed to, if you're new to the challenge, you're supposed to do the 20-minute test to get your paces. There is a way that's a little bit complicated that if you don't want to do the 20-minute challenge run test, you can get your paces by figuring out your VO2 max and the distance you would run. But really just do the 20-minute test and you have your paces. So this week is about setting your paces. All right. And then also it's about getting into the flow, right? So what's the rhythm here? So for easy and default mode, if you're doing it for free, it'll be 30-minute sessions and a little bit longer on the weekend for the long run. And then the difficult mode will be 45-minute sessions and then even longer on the long run. Everyone gets a 30-minute run on Sunday because that's a restoration recovery run. Okay. But we're just getting in the flow with the rhythm. So Mondays are going to be VO2 max and power days, like where we're trying to focus on effort and velocity, and we can push a bit there. Wednesdays are about thresholds, so different types of threshold things. Thursdays are aerobic run plus a strider, and this is if you're doing 5 days a week. So if you're doing 3, you'll get VO2 max on Monday, you'll get threshold on Thursday, and you'll get a Saturday long run. And we cycle through different types of long runs on this. So we go flat, we do half marathon pace work, we go hilly, and we cycle through those. If you go 4 days a week, you're going to have striders, aerobic run plus striders on Thursday. And if you go 5, you'll get the aerobic run on Sunday. All right. But there's themes here. And one of the things that I brought to the table on this holiday challenge is to have a little bit more variety in the type of sessions that we're doing. So generally, I like to really teach people how to execute them and teach your body to understand what's coming and how to approach it by repeating the sessions. For 3 weeks, we're going to do the same type of workout, and then we'll either add more reps or less reps depending on what time of the block we're in. All right. But this one, I try to every week mix things up a little bit. So, but this week, like I said, is about setting the paces, getting the 20-minute test, and make sure you enter them in there so you have your paces. And those paces are accurate. So the easy pace for aerobic runs is actually what you're supposed to be running for aerobic run. Now, if you were to run that every day, eventually you would start to stagnate on improving from them, right? And everyone talks about zone 2 training and how it's hindering you or helping you, and everyone's on the other side of the fence because we have to sensationalize and get everything, and we have to get clickbaity here to get follows and views and get everyone's attention. But essentially is, if you're training more than 3 days a week, then you have to have an easy day. All right, and that includes strength. So if you're 1 strength day and 2 run days, if we add a 4th day, it really should be aerobic in nature so that we can absorb the work that we're doing, which is the quality days. All right, body can only really handle 3 quality days a week, and that includes a long run. All right, and we mix these things up with how we're doing strength and whatnot, but just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so main message: get your paces and get into the flow. All right, now I want to talk about all access a little bit. So if you're doing the challenge for free, you're going to be on a default mode. You're not going to be able to adjust anything, and in order to adjust, and you can't get strength or any access to other plans. So for $10 a month, all access, you'll get strength that's written for this program and these challenges. You'll also be able to adjust your difficulty level. So if you're looking for more, you're a little bit more advanced. Again, this is a great time for a marathoner to kind of recycle and do some other things that we've gotten away from, because when we're doing marathons and half marathons, we're really focusing on, long runs and aerobic capacity for weekly volume, and some of the other priorities kind of get pushed down the list. So here's an opportunity to recycle them and kind of reverse the pyramid. Okay. All right. So for $10 a month, you get access to all this stuff: change paces, strength plans, the strength with the plan, and then you have access to other training plans. And for $10 a month, it's still a beta price. So I would jump on it before anything changes. I don't know when. I'm not foreshadowing, but I would imagine at some point things might change. Okay, let's talk about week number 2, and then we'll get into all or nothing. All right. So in week number 2, all right, I'm trying to change the things each week. So we're going to talk about power hills, over unders, and half marathon goal pace. So I just put half goal pace to remind me. All right. So for power hills, this is a little bit new in a certain sense. And so the focus of this session is to increase, your power and put in quite a bit of effort here. All right. But I want to make sure that we're not overdoing it, which tends to be what happens with a lot of athletes when we're getting to hills and stuff. So we expect that when we run hills, and that we have to know why we're doing them and then how to execute them. So why are we running hills? So we run hills to generate strength and to a precursor to power. And in this capacity, when we're doing shorter ones, it's really focusing on power. All right. However, we're early in our training plan, and so we don't want to overdo it. All right. So hills help us with our running technique and form. It focuses on pushing down into the ground and projecting our body forward better by going up. So it makes it safer to handle the pressure and the pounding. So when I go uphill, all right, when my foot comes up the hill, it lands higher. And when it lands higher, then I have to, I'm not pounding the ground. I'm not coming from as high to pound the ground. If it's flat and I cycle through, now I'm coming from this height to strike the ground. So ground reaction force is higher, therefore more strain through your musculoskeletal system. If we turn it on the incline, if I get to that same point, well, it's half the distance and I'm striking the ground down. All right. Now, a lot of you do this on the treadmill, and it'd be a little challenging raising the treadmill up and down. So the percentage I'm looking for incline is somewhere between like 3 and 6%. I really would do these at 3 or 4% on the lower side, just for the time duration. And they don't need to be the hardest hill in the world to get a benefit from it. All right. I think outside, the perfect kind of hill is a parking garage. It's a nice steady grade that is enough to get the stimulus that we want for this session. The stronger, the steeper the hill you get, the more you're working on strength. All right. Then you're really working on power. And we're trying to work on power here. All right. Something to do with the force velocity curve, where on one side it's high force, low velocity. On the other side, it's low force and high velocity. And we really want to be in the middle of that, where power is generated. All right. So with that said, is on power hills, I have the pace set at half marathon pace. So, Justin, how are we doing half marathon pace work? And that is power. Well, the incline is really going to dictate the pace that you can run. And so, really, what you should be doing is focusing on the effort that you're running. And it should really be no different than what we did last week, which is really focusing on being strong, smooth, and at a very high capacity of what we can do. So if we're at 100%, we really should be at like 90, 95% of that, not 100 or 110. Okay. So with all that said, we really want to make sure that we are not overdoing it. So you might get up to VO2 max pace, and this is where I'm being a little vague, but it should be strong and smooth. All right. Some people don't feel safe running fast on the treadmill. And so maybe this is a good workout to take outside. If you're going outside and it's cold out, make sure you really warm up and you dress warm and cover your legs. I don't want anyone to pull any muscles, but when you're going uphill, it tends to be a little bit hard. All right. If you're outside, walk down the hills, don't sprint down them. And if you're on the tread, you're just going to lower the incline down and jog it out. And so there's enough time in the recovery to do all those things. All right. And when we're really working on power, the work to rest ratio is much bigger. All right. And VO2 max is 1-to-1. So if I run 1 minute, I rest 1 minute. All right. With threshold, it's much less. But with power oriented stuff, and this is more on the borderline of anaerobic, all right, we'll work out for, say, 15 seconds, and the rest will be a minute or so. And I think that's somewhere where we're at with that. I forgot to look it up exactly. Okay. So when we go to the over-unders, all right, over-unders is a high-end aerobic, low-end threshold thing. So here, whereas on the power hills, if you feel good, you can go faster than the prescribed thing. I put people to start off at half marathon pace, but really it's about looking at, you can go quite strong on these. All right. So VO2 max is probably where you're going to get up to, depending on the percent incline. So if it's 3%, maybe go a little faster. Then half marathon pace or into VO2 max quite a bit. If you're at 6%, it's going to be harder to run that speed. All right. So you can play with it there. All right. On the over unders, though, it is strict. Do not run faster. Your 20-minute test has put you in a position where we're in the right place to do these. And it's really easy to overdo threshold because threshold is in a middle capacity. And so therefore you have more capacity to go faster. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to do in threshold orientated things is we're trying to work on buffering lactic acid. So if we think we're like trying to bake cookies, all right, like we're on the power hills, like we can, really bake them really quickly and go for that, right? On this session, we really want some chewy cookies and we really want to be putting them into the oven and then taking them out and put them in and take them out. Now, that's not the best analogy to actually cook cookies, but it's really easy to keep turning the heat or the pace up on the cookies on the oven. And then we have hard cookies or burnt cookies. And this is not the place to do it on threshold. It's so easy to go over our limit where we're producing more lactate and it's flooding the bloodstream. And therefore, we're just getting tired and we're not actually doing the work that we're trying to do in this, which is getting your body efficient at utilizing lactate and converting energy and using it in the cycle and pumping it. But once we start producing too much, it just can't do it and it floods into the bloodstream. So this is not the place. Please hear me. This is not the place to run faster. I'd rather you spend less of your budget here and save more for later. Okay. And then on the weekend, we're doing half marathon goal pace. So again, just trying to mix things up and giving us a little different focal points. And we're oscillating in and out. So we'll run a easy pace and then we'll get into half marathon pace and then we'll come back down and we'll go back into it. And so we're having bigger chunks here and it's just to mix it up. And I've tried to make it appropriate and approachable for all from difficult to easy. Okay. So that's what's coming. And then the aerobic runs and the recovery runs stay exactly the same. So that's a place where we can kind of check in with ourselves and to really let go of the sponge to absorb the training that you're doing. All right. You don't get better on the hard stuff. That's the misconception. You get better when you let off and you absorb the training that you did. Okay. So keep that in mind. All right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about here was this all or nothing idea. And when we talk about all or nothing, Matt talks about this a lot of coaches and a lot of different things. It's like you're either doing it or you don't. And we make this thing binary. And at this time of the year, it can really hinder your progress by focusing on all or nothing. And what this looks like is like, well, if I can't do an hour, it's not good enough. Okay. Not true. All right. Then we go to like, well, if I have a half an hour, I got to make up for it and go harder. Well, that's all, you're all in. That doesn't usually work either. So this all or nothing mentality really hinders us. And it's kind of one of these ideas that I heard, I've heard this before, like we overestimate what we can do in the short term and we overestimate what we can do in the long term. So this all or nothing thing is like, we got to get it all now. And to me, this is where we're kind of losing sight about the ideas between like, I said, I've heard this and used this before, is the difference between like playing the finite game where it's all going to be done right now, or playing the infinite game that we're doing this over a period of time. So you're not trying to get it all done today. All right. We think about our budget. We have a certain budget that we're trying to spend each training plan. And we break that up into each block has a smaller budget, and then each week has a smaller budget, and then each day has a budget, right? And so really at the end of the day, we just try to not to overspend on our budget. So our key budget days, our big spending days are Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, all right? VO2 max, threshold, and long run. Those are our big spending days, all right? And so if we allocate like $150 each to spend on that day, if we go push harder, then we're spending $170, $165, $180, some people $200. You made it really big. And so if we get to the end of the week and on those 3 days, if you spent more effort, energy than was allocated or for plans on the plan, then let's just say we're $25 over on 3 sessions. So now we're $75 over. Okay, well, the training plan goes in 2-3 week builds. Well, so at the end of the week, we're $75 over. Over 3 weeks, that's what? That's 150, 225 over. So now we're more than a quality day over in the long run in 3 weeks. Now we expand that to 6 weeks, right? Now have the budget of almost half a week or a whole week over, right? And so this is where progressive overloading is really important, but you have to back off on the days. So in the holidays, this is where it comes into play. It's like, well, I didn't get to it and I'll skip a day. Is on the other side of things, right? So we got our maximizers and we got our ones who like can't get into a rhythm, and I'll come back to it after the new year. Well, that doesn't work either. There was a Japanese like parable or phrase. It's like the river that always runs cuts deeper. So if we just keep trickling along, like we'll end up carving out what we want. Now, instead of it being like a flash flood, like big diet thing, like boom, it's like open the floodgates, open the dam, and we just like create a ton of demolition and damage, and then it's done for a while. And it doesn't really do a whole lot. So focus on getting out of this idea of all or nothing, either on the fast end where you're going to empty the tanks and spend more than your budget, or because you don't have enough time, or you're just going to wait till the end of the year and the holidays to come. And then guess what? You're starting at a worse place. So chip away at the stuff. And the way that you chip away at it is by spending the appropriate budget, which means you're following the plan and you're following your paces. If you get to the end of it and it's all easy, which I highly doubt it, I promise you, then you'll be ready to test faster and increase your paces. And that's the improvement that we're really going for. So think about all these things. It comes at you a lot of different ways. All right. But incremental gains is really what it's about. You can do way more in 6 months than you can do in 6 weeks. All right. You can do way more in 6 weeks than you can do in 6 days. So keep this in mind. Get rid of the all or nothing mentality. It doesn't help you on both sides, whether you're a maximizer or you're just going to skip it and kick the can down the road. Neither work. Both get you into trouble in different ways. And we end up kind of in the same place where things aren't just working and we're more fatigued and tired than we need to be. So think about that stuff going on. And yeah, so I'm going to stay on for a couple minutes. and answer any questions. One of the things I saw coming up was, I'm not really seeing too much. Yeah, it's Friday. I didn't expect many people to be on, but so think back to what I talked about for week number 1 is, you're finishing up, you're getting your paces, and you're getting into the flow. Think about All Access is for $10 a month. You get access to your strength plan and strength training. This is a perfect time of the year to recycle that back in and get back on the horse there, the habit horse. And then you can change your difficulty levels and have access to other training plans if you're looking for more than just this challenge. And then week number 2, Power Hills. Don't go crazy with the incline. Focus on just a little bit and being strong and smooth than struggling, all right, getting on the struggle bus. That's not necessary. If you feel good, don't be afraid to go fast. It's okay. So if it's the difference between going faster or more incline, I'm going to leave that up to you. Both are okay in this moment. We're going to come back to Power Hills another time. Over-unders, don't overcook the cookies. Don't overcook them. Follow what's asked of you. Spend a little bit less of your budget, and we'll have more for later. And then half marathon goal pace, just mixing up different long runs. And then get rid of the all or nothing mentality. It really does not serve you. Really think about where this is coming from, and has it helped you in one area? Maybe it helped you in this domain, but over here it's not working. And I can tell you in fitness and health, it does not work. Again, the river that always runs cuts deeper. So more Grand Canyon, less flash flooding. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow us and hit subscribe, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And jump in. Team Wilpers running. Jump in the group. Show your wins. Show your losses. Be vulnerable. Ask questions. The crew will answer it. And if not, you can tag me and I'll answer it. So see you guys all later. Happy holidays. It's begun.